After tea was discovered, a lot of people probably died trying to make similar drinks from leaves that turned out to be toxic. If we had to dump our own household trash in our backyard for 1 week, we would seriously reconsider our own impact of environmental waste. There must be a lot of Tinder dates where both persons were catfished but ended up thinking that they were stood up because neither of them could find the person they were looking for. One-armed people are probably so much better at spooning than the rest of us. The movie Requiem for a Dream probably convinced more teenagers not to do drugs than the DARE program ever did. A scented candle store burning down would smell amazing. An ass is both extremely sexy and extremely disgusting part of the body. The four elements, earth, water, air, and fire, coincide with the four states of matter, solids, liquids, gases, and plasmas. If the purpose of life is to live long, to do no harm and to help others to survive, trees are doing pretty damn good job. Calling a kid kid sounds fine, but calling an adult adult sounds weird. Human beings are probably the only creatures in the world that find the smell of wood smoke to be pleasant. All Lego characters are bald, they either wear wigs or head accessories to hide it. If you are currently wearing clothes, you have gotten dressed precisely one more time than you have gotten undressed over the course of your lifetime. You know you're introverted when you type up a full paragraph in response to a tweet/post and don't click send. The fictional language spoken in The Sims is probably how English sounds to non-English speakers. Cannibals would consider a vegan person grass-fed. Us gamers probably have taken more steps in video games than in real life. Humans are the plastic of the animal kingdom. Incredibly versatile and good in a lot of situations, but generally lacking specialization and slowly killing the planet. Vampires always have great hair, even though they can't see themselves in a mirror. People kept saying we need a new plague and now we have coronavirus and it still isn't good enough for y'all. If Corona gave free masks with every six-pack, their sales would skyrocket. If you ever find yourself naked in public, you'd probably want to cover up your face instead of your privates. The Lorax is a story about saving trees, that's written on trees. At some point, two pedophiles have probably met up after conversing on the internet, both pretending to be 12-year-olds. If iCarly was a real show, then no one would have actually found it funny and the people on it would have been bullied relentlessly. At some point, someone decided that yelling whoa was a pretty good way to verbalize enthusiasm, and everybody just went with it. We live in a time where just by happenstance you can download a chess app on your phone, set two grandmaster level computers against themselves, and watch top level gameplay being generated live just for you. I'd never buy a used mattress, but sleeping in a hotel is fine. The first domesticated cat probably just walked straight up to a human and sat on them for warmth, thus began a strange partnership over 10,000 years ago. Math is the source code of the universe, physics is the anti-cheat of the universe. Legos live in houses made of their own flesh. If you have to wear a wristband that says it, you're not a VIP. The difference between being educated and brainwashed is the number of places you get your information. You know society is on the downtrend when the news is forced to explain to people how to properly wash their hands. There will eventually be one person who was born on Mars, grew up on Mars, and believes that Mars is flat. You have seen more of the moon's surface than the Earth. Dreams are a lot like nights out drinking, sometimes you remember everything, sometimes you remember small parts and sometimes you don't remember anything at all. Considering that plastic takes a very long time to break down, plastic shelves have a very long shelf life. In 1,000 years someone will find an iPad encased in rock and it will be an ancient stone tablet. It's a sign of peace and tranquility to us humans to hear birds singing in the morning when in actual reality it's an entire class of animals just screaming out begging for sex. Having the same hair length, a man is said to have long hair while a woman is said to have short hair. Somewhere there is a kid who will have to grow up knowing his disobedience led to Harambe's death. A curse word was probably not invented by the person who said it first, but the first one to be offended by it. Being self-taught at an instrument or skill was a lot more impressive before the internet. Scooby-Doo has the most incompetent police force in any TV show. Adults may get to do more things, but kids can run out of the house without a wallet, phone, or keys and not instantly panic. Everybody who has their 18th birthday today has waited 72 years for it. Normal flu and cold cases might actually be lower than normal this year due to the increased hygiene methods people are using due to coronavirus. If Pokemon were real, a Pokemon meat market would exist as well. Life's the only game where you get progressively weaker with more experience. Of all species that have existed on Earth, 99% are now extinct. Imagine how much tasty food we are missing out on. No is a future tense, no is a present tense, and no is a past tense for dog owners. Villains would have had a much higher advantage over the heroes if they never told them their intentions. -2 degrees looks like a person doing a push-up. Deaf people with missing fingers technically have speech impediments. When teachers flex about how all their students are gonna fail the test, they are actually just pointing out how shit they are at their job. Indian phone scammers have completely ruined cold calling for anyone with an Indian accent. Someone from thousands of years ago created a family that still exists. Jobs reject you for not having enough work experience when your purpose of applying was to get that work experience. The greatest barber will never receive the greatest haircut. 2000 years ago, a man using a stick guessed the size of the earth up to 99.5% accurately, yet people think math is hard. Buffets are less about the food and more about the challenge of getting your money's worth. Both the answers to the question, "Are we alone in the universe?" is equally scary. A large majority of all the conversations you will have in your life will be between you and yourself. Lego minifigures live in houses made of their own flesh. The timing of a post usually matters more than its content. You could make $100K an hour from birth till 100 years old and still be poorer than Jeff Bezos. You can spend $300 or $3 million on your car, birds will shit on it just the same. Being fit makes it look like you're dressed better than you actually are. Most people are in a toxic relationship with sleep, work, and time. When you get enough sleep, you don't have enough time. When you have enough time, you give it away to work. When you work enough, you don't have enough time or sleep. Birthdays were a nice way of the human race to agree everyone deserves a day to be celebrated. Clicking pens is one of those sounds you love to make but hate to hear. You're getting 1/365 more value out of your rent payments this year. When astronauts return with moon rocks and other extraterrestrial substances, the Earth becomes a little bit heavier. The shittiest toilet paper fails at being the shittiest toilet paper. Before video games, almost nobody was saying "I died." House cats are living proof that all you need to live comfortably is to kiss up to the right people. Games with "It's harder than you think" or 99% people can't pass this level ads, are the easiest games. Video games teach us from an early age that in life, the boss is our biggest enemy. Blind people probably save hundreds of dollars on electricity in their lives. There are sidewalks in Pixar's movie Cars. You can never see yourself in a mirror in 100% real time. Your reflection is always younger than you. Every porn star is technically getting fed by a coworker. Give a man a whistle and he will be able to whistle, but teach a man to whistle and he will also be able to whistle. If the Hubble telescope would find a mirror deep into space and look back at Earth, we would see the past. Technically, if vegans were to go all out, they wouldn't be able to use any crude oil-related products, including plastic and electricity from the grid generated through burning fossil fuels. It's difficult to get practically any job if you're over 60, but it's totally okay for people in their 70s to run a country. If your smartphone is water resistant and you post on social media while showering, you have physically created a shower thought. A ghost could be vigorously break dancing behind you and you wouldn't know. Okay, if there's someone named Harry who works with clay in this world, he has to open a shop named Harry's Pottery. If a cop who has never failed in catching criminals is chasing a criminal who has never been caught, one of them is going to lose his reputation. The Incredibles becomes a really dark movie when you realize Syndrome attempted to kill Mr. Incredible's wife and children as payback for disrespecting him. Thanks to things like live photos and digital picture frames, the moving pictures in Harry Potter aren't that outlandish anymore. When you sit in silence with someone you barely know, it's the most awkward thing in the world, but when you do it with someone you close to, it's the most normal thing in the world. You can create an account today and have a cake day once every 4 years. There was probably at least one guy back in Greek times that would get women to think he was Zeus just to get laid. We would all be nearly invisible to fifth-dimensional beings. In a house fire, there's a brief moment when some of the food is perfectly cooked. Men are criticized for being too dramatic when they're sick, man flu, but they're a lot less likely to get others sick if they just stay in bed instead of trying to push through it. Toilets have to deal with our shit all the time. People without allergies might actually be allergic to something that doesn't exist on Earth. YOLO is a warning to not do anything stupid. Boomers criticize millennials for frivolous purchases, but it was them that purchased collectible ceramic figurines and commemorative plates. The more kidneys you donate, the more evil a person you are. When books were invented, the people from that time probably treated them like we treat video games now. Yawning is the human version of a low battery notification. You don't realize how many people are sick till you hear a cough go off every 10 seconds in an exam. You might actually be the dumbest person someone knows. If food touches the table, it is dirty, but when utensils touch the table, they are still clean. Skeletons are often classified as monsters in pop culture, so there is always a monster inside of you waiting to be freed. Millennials really missed an opportunity by not calling the older generation boomer, since they complain so much. Humanity will peak when we can joke about each other's differences with good nature. You don't appreciate how quiet civilian airliners are until a military jet flies overhead. At this point, the FBI could use FBI surveillance van 1 and no one would think it was really them. Vampires look far too good for individuals who don't have reflections. The reason that we think a ghost saying "ah" is probably because kids overheard their parents having sex. If you don't do stupid things when you're young, you'll have nothing to laugh about later in your life. Milky Way is a female Snickers. No nuts and more milky.